All three economic systems answer three basic economic questions. One, what to produce. That means, what is our country's economy going to make? Two, how are we going to produce it? How are we going to make these goods to sell? And three, for whom to produce? Who are we making these goods for? Who are we going to sell them to? Are we just going to sell them locally in our own country? Or are we going to export them around the world? Basic economic questions are always answered by the government in a command economy. The government makes all the decisions. And how do they do this? Well, when it comes to what to produce, they make whatever the government says to produce. For the question of how to produce, in a command economy, they produce goods however the government tells them to. If the government says, we need 100,000 pairs of boots, and we need them done in this factory, and we need them done by this date and with these materials, that's what people are going to do. For whom to produce is answered by, well, for whomever the government tells you to produce. Typically, it's the entire society. In a traditional economy, the basic economic questions are answered by what has always been done in the past. It's based off of traditions, cultures, rituals, and habits and customs. Okay, so however these goods have always been made is how they will be made. How do they answer the three basic questions? Well, when it comes to what to produce, whatever ritual, habit, or custom dictates is how they'll produce, or is what they'll produce. When it comes to how to produce, they'll produce these goods however their rituals, habits, customs, and traditions tell them to. And for whom to produce, they'll make these goods for whoever traditionally buys them. So if you come from a family of fishermen, chances are you're going to fish. That's going to be what you produce. How are you going to do it? You might use the same materials, the same fishing poles, the same strategies for fishing that your ancestors, that your parents and grandparents have all used. And who are you catching the fish for? You might bring them to the same markets that your family has always sold fish at. When it comes to market economies, all the basic economic questions are answered by the consumers. So in this type of economy, the consumers have the most power because it's their dollars that are basically voting for what they want people to make. Because if consumers don't want to buy something, it's not going to get made after a while. They're going to go out of business. So how do market economies answer these three basic questions? Well, when it comes to what to produce, whatever people need and want to buy. How to produce it, however companies individually decide they want to produce their product. The government doesn't really have a say. If they want to use these materials or if they want to use these factories, that's up to them. For whom to produce will be for whomever wants to purchase their product. We'll go ahead and buy it. In a market economy, buyers and sellers have the ultimate freedom to produce, buy, and sell whatever they want. When we look around the world at different countries, we find that most of these countries, pretty much all of these countries, have a mixed economy that's located somewhere on a continuum between being pure market and pure command, somewhere in the middle. Some countries might lean more market, some countries might lean more command, depending on usually what type of government they have. If they are a dictatorship or a communist type government, typically their economy leans more towards command. We see that in North Korea, for example. If they are a democracy, with more of a free market system where there can be entrepreneurs, we see their economy leans more towards market. Now, it's kind of a good thing that most countries are a mixture because it's good to have opportunities for people to start their own businesses. It helps economies. It's good for people to have a choice in what they want to buy or sell. It leads to more motivation. But at the same time, it's also good to have a little bit of government intervention to help protect the consumer. Before, we had government intervention in some industries like food production. You could sell someone expired food until there were laws made by the government that said you have to have an expiration date on the packaging. That's just one example. So once again, most countries have a mixed economy. located somewhere between market and command, and that's a good thing.